Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the ACE International webinar hosted by VF Franchise Consulting. My name is Sean No, and I will be your host today. And as you can see on this video here, our guest speaker is Mr. Alberto Vidal, and we will let Mr. Alberto take over the webinar shortly. A few things to remember before we get started. We will have a Q&A session after Mr. Alberto's presentation, so please stay on the line for that. You may ask your questions by typing in your questions into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen of whatever device you are currently using. In addition, we will follow up with you in the next few days with a recording of this webinar, as well as some more information about the ACE franchise opportunity. Because this is a limited format, we are expecting a 1-hour webinar, so obviously there will be many questions that you may have that we encourage you to register for the one-on-one call with Mr. Alberto and the ACE team. And before I introduce Mr. Alberto, we'd like to play a short 1-minute video introducing ACE. And so let me go ahead and show you that brief 1-minute video. This is a video from the 2019 ACE Hardware Fall Convention. Okay, so before we begin with the ACE webinar, real quickly, we would like to do a brief introduction regarding VF Franchise Consulting. This will take just a couple of minutes before we hand it off to Mr. Alberto. So VF Franchise Consulting, our vision is to become the leading franchise consultancy in Asia. And you can see that we are based in Vietnam, as well as having a branch office in Singapore. The brands that we represent, including ACE, are recognized, proven brands with very good potential and very highly sustainable competitive positions. What is a little bit unique about us is that on our team, we have both operational and development experience throughout Asia, and that includes in F&B, in education, and certainly in retail as well. And one of the key things that we do is we hold a lot of international franchise business matching events throughout Asia. You may have heard of us. We definitely do visit your country at least once a year, and more often than not, twice a year with our business matching events. We are, of course, supplementing this with a lot of online virtual seminars and webinars due to the current times, but we expect to continue that even after the current situation. You can see here's a list of some of our current clients today. Of course, Ace International is the largest retail brand that we are currently assisting, but we also have brands in education, in food and beverage, and services. Here are some of the franchising and licensing services that we assist our clients with. Obviously, we are looking for area franchisees and sometimes master franchisees for the different countries in Asia for our clients. We have had the opportunity to also assist some businesses become franchisable. And so we provide those types of services, as well as you can see other operational and development services as well. In addition to franchising and licensing, some of our clients are seeking distribution partners and joint venture partners. So we pretty much do the same services and advise our clients as they seek these types of partners in the different markets within Asia. And then, of course, we have ad hoc projects, other short-term projects, rollouts from developing operations and sales training to helping acquisitions of sites for development, etc. So that is a brief of our company. Okay, it looks like I would like to go ahead and introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Alberto Vidal. He is the Director of International Business Development for ACE International. And now I would like to hand it over to Mr. Alberto.
Well, thank you, Sean. Good morning to everyone. Good evening, good afternoon. Not quite sure what time zones we're in, but I know that we're all pretty much spread across the planet at this point. As Sean mentioned, my name is Alberto Vidal. I head up the new business global development for Ace Hardware Corporation. And I first want to thank you and certainly welcome you to what is hoped to be an interactive session and giving you the ability to understand a little bit more about our concept, our opportunity, and the success that we have had specifically in the Asia Pacific version. So I just want to make sure that everybody has the ability to see my screen. Sean, if you could just ensure that the actual deck is up, that would be great to confirm, if you would.
Yes, the presentation is up, Alberto.
Okay, excellent, great, thank you. I'll try to go as slow as possible and articulate as concisely as I possibly can. If for whatever reason I'm going a little bit too fast, I'll allow Sean or someone to tell me to please slow down and try to cover it a little bit slower. Over the next 45 minutes, what I'd like to do is give you a bit of a background, a history and timeline of Ace Hardware Corporation, share with you our regional footprint, specifically in Asia and Southeast Asia, and also provide you with why Ace. Why would we like for you to invest in the Ace proposition? What does success look like? And what are those specific target markets that we are currently looking to expand into today in the Asian market? So let's share a little bit about Ace's history. For those of you who don't know Ace Hardware, we are a company that was founded nearly 100 years ago in Chicago. So it is a brand that has exceptional brand equity, not only in the United States, but also now in nearly 70 countries. We started again in 1924, and throughout the course of nearly the past 100 years, we have began to expand not only in the United States, where we currently have nearly 5,300 stores operating, but we also expanded abroad into the international markets back in 1975, where we signed an agreement in Guam with a retailer. And since then, we've had the opportunity of, nearly 45 years of working internationally. And I believe someone like Sean could give you that a testament to those of you who have worked with international franchises and the importance of understanding and being able to validate that your franchisor has extensive international experience. As I mentioned, we're in nearly 70 countries, have been abroad for over 45 years. So the experience that we bring to the table in opening in various regions with the support not only from our current hub in the United States, but also from one of the largest international franchise teams on the planet. We have nearly 200 people that work on the international team, headquartered in Chicago, but based out of either Shanghai, Panama in Latin America, and Dubai for the North African and Middle Eastern region. We also have a sourcing team based out of Ningbo. So we are truly a team that has an international presence and is there to support our international franchisees like yourself in the future. We are a company, as I mentioned, that currently is just shy of 6,000 stores worldwide. And I'll share a little bit more specifically on the footprint that we have in your region as we go through the presentation. I wanted to share with you a little bit of the strength that ACE brings to the table. Obviously, it's very important that you understand the health of whoever you're going to be doing business with, in particular the franchisor. ACE has been very fortunate to have started off 2020, given all the uncertainty that we're all living today, with a record year. We are continuing to grow specifically from a new store count, but we are also expanding internationally. And one of the interesting caveats is that whereas other businesses, unfortunately, given this global pandemic, have had to close, such as restaurants, gyms, and other different type of businesses, boutiques, retail, etc., home improvement, specifically in the United States and in half of the countries where we serve today, has been deemed essential. So that has allowed us to continue to serve our customers and our communities in the different countries by providing the needs specific that they have for not only the fix and repair, but the restoration of their homes. So with that said, it has allowed us to have, in a most humble manner, I say this, record sales and significant growth from a store comp basis. And it's something that we don't take lightly, and we are certainly very engaged in improving and helping in those countries that unfortunately home improvement has not been deemed essential to reopen as quickly as possible, and taking those learnings and moving forward with it. Additionally, Ace Hardware is the 6th largest ranked franchise of the top 500 franchises worldwide, from unit count, overall sales, and comps on a yearly basis, as provided by Entrepreneur Magazine. So those are just some of the humble awards and accolades that we received at ACE. As mentioned earlier, our international footprint has continued to grow, whereas we have been opening on average anywhere between 40 to 60 stores on the international front on a yearly basis. And in the United States, we open nearly 170 stores, between 170 and 200 stores on an annual basis. So the growth is continued, and we're very hopeful that we could continue growing, specifically in the Asia market. We still feel that there is great potential. As mentioned earlier, our support ranges not only from our corporate offices in Oak Brook, Chicago, Illinois, in the United States, but also regionally, as mentioned, in Panama, Dubai, and Shanghai. And these offices are there to support you not only from a product, from a team, from a corporate perspective, from a finance, from a logistics and sourcing perspective, but also to be closer in the regions to the stores so they could better serve our retailers within their time zones and within their regions. I'll share with you a bit of our regional footprint. As you can see, we have great presence in Southeast Asia. Specifically, we are market leaders in Malaysia, Indonesia, and Philippines. We're combined, we're just shy of 500 stores, soon to open in Cambodia. And we've just opened our first store in Ho Chi Minh over the last 6 months. I believe we opened in December of 2019, and we are soon to open our second store in Ho Chi Minh within the course of the next 90 days. So we're very fortunate that Vietnam has been a very successful market for us. We've also opened in South Korea, in Seoul, just recently, and I believe we are up to 5 stores in South Korea since 2018. So soon to open store number 6 in less than 2 years in Seoul, Korea. Let me tell you a little bit of why ACE and why we feel the proposition for home improvement and the fix and repair market is so strong globally. Most of you may know some of these brands specific to, in this particular instance, to Thailand. These are some of the larger players in what we call the big box format. As you look at the top of the screen, what we would call the large format, your Home Pros, your Thai Watts-A-Dos, etc. If you look to the left of the screen, they are more focused on hardware, lumber, construction equipment. If you would go to the right of the screen where it says home goods, they would be more specific to furniture needs, appliances, electronics. And if you go down to the bottom of the screen where it says small format, there you're looking at more of what we would call a convenience, a dollar store format. We play in the middle of all of that. We are not overemphasizing in construction commodities, nor do we emphasize in white goods, furnitures, and appliances. We concentrate in between a large format of perhaps 10,000 square meters or a smaller format of about 100 square meters. Our ideal footprint is about 800 square meters, but our brand has the flexibility of developing a format specific to the needs of the trade area and obviously the needs of the commercial real estate opportunities and the needs of the consumer. So we have models ranging from an express store of anywhere between 300 and 400 square meters up to what we would call a super model of anywhere between 2,000 and 2,500 square meters. But we tend to be within a sweet spot of commodities and home improvement and some of the home goods, more of the fix and repair format within that range. A little bit more detail specific to the basic formats and a little bit of capitalization requirements that we offer. As I mentioned earlier, anywhere from an express format, in this case, 3,000 to 5,000 square feet or 300 to 500 square meters. What we would call a convenience and core format, anywhere from 600 square meters to 1,200. And then that super format that is above and beyond that. Just to give you a little bit of a definition of where we would fit the certain formats, an express format is something that we would use more in an urban, high density, vertical market. As an example, a Ho Chi Minh, a Taipei, a Bangkok, where the limit of commercial real estate is difficult to find, specific in the big box format, and the price structure for that rent is, and those occupancy costs are too expensive. So we tend to go with a smaller format within that urban core. The convenience and core formats are more of the formats that we use specifically in what we would call the suburban outskirts of the CBD, where you find more single family homes, single family units, townhouses, where the store is larger. It offers a more complete assortment of categories and products that are more specific to outdoor living, paint, home, lawn and garden, etc. When we go to a super format, The super format takes you outside of the city limits, which traditionally can become the big box. And in many cases, this rural format that could be up to 2,500 square meters is one that not only includes all the elements of an express, convenience, and core format, but it gives you more. It now begins to offer construction material, in some cases cement, steel, lumber. In other cases, it could offer animal products, animal feed, etc. So that box now becomes more of that staple for that rural area. And we've shared with you a little bit of a high level of what the capitalization requirements would be to open one of those stores, specifically in US dollars, from not only the inventory, but also the fixtures and equipment for each of the different formats. Obviously, the prices and the capitalization requirements will vary depending on the market, depending on what needs to be done to the actual site and the location. But this gives you an idea of inventories and what is considered furniture, fixtures, and equipment. Your smaller stores, just to give you some tidbits of information, are your express stores tend to be more productive from a sales per square meter perspective, and traditionally tend to offer a higher gross margin. Our history and our data tells us that people within the CBDs tend to value convenience and their time much more. So they're willing to pay a little bit more and provide you with a little bit higher margin because of that convenience. So therefore, you potentially may have a higher foot traffic with a higher gross margin. Whereas the larger the store becomes, traditionally the margin becomes a little bit lower, but your average check becomes a little bit higher because you begin to sell products that are bigger bulk, of a higher ticket. For example, whether that's a barbecue or outdoor furniture, or in some cases, construction material like concrete, steel, or lumber, they tend to have a higher per ticket sale, but they tend to have a little bit of a lower margin. So that's where you see a little bit of the differences specific to the different formats from a sales per square meter and a margin perspective. And I'll be more than happy to discuss with you individually more specifics on how we see performance to each specific territory and country that you may be interested in at a further date on a private call. Our proposition is very complete, as you see, not only from a brand equity perspective, specifically in Asia, where we have been market leaders not only in Indonesia as a publicly traded company, in the Philippines, partnered with the SM Group, and in Malaysia, where we also have a brand presence and brand strength. Our presence in these markets has allowed us over the past 30 years to provide an exceptional reputation, one of quality, one of community involvement, and one of ultimately customer service. Our global distribution network allows us to not only ship from different sources and different channels, including either from China, from the United States, but also locally from our regional distribution centers that provide you different products that are more specific to your region. In addition, we maintain at least 15,000 private labeled products that are only sold within the ACE network and carry specifically the ACE private label branding. And that is a huge differentiator, because when you buy that product or when you buy at an ACE hardware store, you allow not only the warranty, but you allow the backing of that product to be, whether it's returned without a hassle, with no questions asked, so that that customer is ultimately satisfied. And we make it as convenient as possible for you, the retailer, to not have any issues when you return that product and get a credit with ACE for whatever that product deficiency was. Our global support training is second to none. We require a minimum of 13 weeks of training, whether it's in country, whether it's abroad in the United States, or whether it's regionally at a neighboring country at one of the stores. You'll be trained by subject matter experts specific to home improvement in every department, from inventory management to customer service training, to pricing, to project management, to the ability of better understanding the products that will serve best within each specific trade area. So our training is extensive and it's ongoing. It doesn't just end when you open the store. It continues as you continue to open your first, your third, your 10th store, and you build this enterprise of success within your country and within your territory. In addition, twice a year, we offer what we call our ACE Fall and Spring Show in the United States, where we allow or where we invite all of our retailer community, our retailer network, our store operators, their buyers. We invite all of our vendor community with all the thousands of different brands and our new prospect candidates that are interested in joining the ACE proposition, so that they have a better understanding of a 4-day presentation specific to the ACE way of retailing and having the ability to meet other retailers within their region so that they have a firsthand testimonial. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we are now conducting, at least for the next show, what will be called a virtual or digital show. And we will be sharing with you save the dates so that we could provide you with information and an agenda should you wish to participate and better understand what our shows are and the experience that you could have with them. We also provide some of the lowest cost of goods within the different product classes and sourcing capabilities. We differentiate ourselves with not only quality, but having the purchase power on a global basis to be able to buy from different categories and different products and different sources and provide you the best price for the products that you'll be selling within your stores. We pride ourselves also in differentiating ourselves with our merchandise assortments. We have category managers that will work with you specific to your trade area, your territory, and your country to better understand what the needs are for your specific market and what those consumer needs are for your specific territory and country, so that we could differentiate our assortments from others in any nearby competitors. And also the brand value. The quality of our products are second to none. And for years, we have always backed our products with an unconditional return policy, one of the best within the industry itself. And that has made ACE the success that it is today in nearly 70 countries over 90 years. So moving on, I wanted to share a little bit about what we call the ACE support, or what is referred to as the 5 Ps. Our promise to you is we will support you in place, we will support you in product, we will support you in price, in people, and promotion. And when I refer to place, we will support you in the validation of your site, of where you're going to put your first, 5th, 10th ACE Hardware store. We will help you optimize and develop a specific floor plan for that site and help you identify what the right store environment is for that specific trade area, whether it's an express store, a convenience store, or a superstore, or something in between. From a product perspective, our international merchants and category managers will work within your territory to provide a relevant and differentiated local product assortment that will be specific to your market and allow you the ability to sell the products that those consumers are looking for within that specific trade area. Along with that, we will also assist you in pricing those products accordingly based on the competition, if there is any competition within that trade area, within that market, so that you are competitive, but so you're also not leaving any dollars on the table and you could maximize your margins accordingly. From a people perspective, we will provide you world-class training so that you have the ability to hire the right associates so that they lead in customer service, technology, and provide you with the training specific to inventory management, loss prevention, and those business-to-business solutions that today are so important, because it's not just being a B2C, it's also being a B2B. I mean, from a promotional perspective, our consumer marketing specialists will assist you in positioning that brand accordingly so that you could continue with a launch from a public relations campaign onto your marketing and consumer marketing campaign, so that you could continue to drive those footsteps and that traffic into your stores over the life of the brand itself. So what does success look like today, specifically in your region? For those of you that have had the opportunity of visiting some of these stores, I hope that some of you have, but for those that haven't, specifically in Indonesia, we established our operation there with the Kawana Lama Group back in 1995. Today, they are a publicly traded company on the Indonesian Stock Exchange with over 200 stores within Indonesia. And they run different types of models from the express all the way to the superstore. And as a matter of fact, Indonesia has the largest Ace Hardware store on the planet, which is nearly 25,000 square meters. And it is in the top, as you can see, the 31st most valuable brand within the country itself, in Indonesia. Some other pictures here, as you can see, of different formats, not only from the smaller versions, some of which are mall-based, some of which are freestanding, others of which are express, and some which take the look of almost a department store as an anchor within a mall. In the Philippines, also market leaders, we have been partnered with the S&M Group there since 1997, also with over 200 stores and still growing. There we have stores not only from the express to the larger format, but we even have stores within a store, which you'll find stores within some of the supermarket chains that the SM Group itself owns. So our formats are even more creative and even more flexible in the Philippines, both mall-based, independent, freestanding, etc. Some other pictures there of some grand openings. And certainly we could share additional pictures with you and certainly email them to you at your convenience. In Malaysia, where we've been in business since 1998, we are headed close to 20 stores now, and there the stores are more mall-based, and most of those stores have a footprint of anywhere between 800 to 1,000 square meters, very similar to the stores in the United States. There is a lot of similarities with the product categories and assortments that we offer in these stores, although most are mall-based in Malaysia, something we don't necessarily do here in the United States. It has proven to be very, very successful in Southeast Asia and in particular in Malaysia. Just some other pictures here of some of the assortments, some of the storefronts. As you can see, our stores are smaller than the big boxes, but in a typical store, an 800 square meter store, you could find anywhere between 20 to 25,000 SKUs. As you can see, they're always stocked abundantly. There is a variety of products within what we call the good, better, and best category management assortments, with a broad range and deep range of products, so that when you go into an A store, you're always going to ensure that you have the product and that the stores do not look skinny or anemic. So some more pictures here of Malaysia. In South Korea, as I mentioned, we've opened just recently, just shy of 2 years ago. And we've partnered there with the Eugene Group, which is a large, one of the largest construction companies in Korea, with also other businesses, hotels, casinos, finance, etc. They were also, until recently, the largest electronic store chain, which they divested and they sold off, and they had over 100 stores throughout the country. And their efforts are to grow the Ace Home Center, Ace brand in South Korea. So we're very excited and certainly very pleased with the results that we have received recently over the past just shy of 2 years with the success in Korea. Here's another shot of a store. This is a larger format, as you can see, probably just shy of about 2,500 square meters. So this would be more of a super format. In their case, they're calling it a home center. In Vietnam, we just opened our first store, as I mentioned, in late November, early December. And it is a mall-based store, large store. It's an anchor store that's about 2,500 square meters. And it has been very well received, fortunately, especially during these times of the pandemic, where the mall was closed for a period of time. It has reopened, and it is doing very well. And they were able to provide services, whether it was delivery, buy online, and deliver to the home during some of the periods of its closure. And we're very hopeful that we'll continue to have the success in the second store, which is scheduled to open within the next 90 days in Ho Chi Minh. We still have the North Vietnam territory available, and that is one of our target markets, which I'll share in just a second, moving forward. Some additional pictures here. Some of these pictures were taken actually just prior to the store opening. So as you'll note, you won't necessarily see any customers at this point because it was just before the grand opening and it was in its finishing touches of its merchandising. Coming soon, I don't know if I mentioned, but we will be opening in Cambodia, in Phnom Penh, and we're excited to open there, where we've partnered with a very successful group who has a aggressive store opening plan of anywhere between 7 to 9 stores within the first 6 to 8 years. And we're certainly looking forward to our openings in Phnom Penh. We think that that's going to be a very interesting market. And we are currently working with other licensee prospects, specifically in Myanmar and other markets of interest, which are what we call our target markets, which I'll share with you now. One of which is Singapore, which we feel has a tremendous opportunity specific to not only its expat community, but the fact that it is such a high density with a very high purchasing power. And we think that there is a potential there of anywhere between 7 to 10 stores over a 10-year period. And we're very excited of relaunching the Ace brand in Singapore. So that is one of our target markets that we are exploring, and would certainly love to talk to any of the prospects on this call that are from Singapore. In addition, Thailand is an exceptionally attractive market. It is a very mature market that has very, very strong and successful players, some of which I mentioned earlier, and they are absolute world-class operators. So we're very keen on entering Thailand, but specifically entering Thailand with a format that does not exist, and that is that convenient hardware format, as I mentioned earlier, that is anywhere between 300 square meters and about 800 square meters. That's where we think the sweet spot is for Thailand, because most of the stores there in the home improvement arena are big boxes in excess of 10,000 square meters. So we think that there is an absolute great potential to develop that smaller, convenient home improvement box in Thailand as one of our other key target markets. As I mentioned earlier, North Vietnam is available, and we are getting a lot of interest and a lot of activity with North Vietnam, specific to the success that we are seeing with our South Vietnam licensee. And we think that there could be a very interesting synergy there with the success that we've had in the South in Ho Chi Minh, and that could certainly work to the favor of opening your first store, which should be in Hanoi. So for those of you who are on the call from North Vietnam, we welcome the opportunity to have a conversation with you in the very near future. And moving on, and I believe this is the final target market, would be Taiwan. We also feel similar to Seoul, similar to Singapore, that the urban density within that market provides an excellent opportunity for several stores within that express format, within that core format, where you could certainly come in and there's really not much of a competition outside of what we call the fragmented mom and pop shops, where you traditionally buy different things in these little hardware districts. We think that a convenient home improvement format in Taiwan is long overdue. It is a country with significant international franchise growth and experience, and very welcoming of multinational franchisors to the country. So that's also on the top of our target list for any of you that are on the call from Taiwan. We look forward to talking to you as well in the very near future. Just to share, as we start coming to a bit of an end, that I believe, Sean, I'm on target. As far as the steps to success, we call this one of our discovery calls, where we have the ability to share with you at a very high level the ACE proposition, a little bit about what we are, who we are, our history, why ACE, and some of our humble success within the region. From this point, what we'd like to do is, if there is continued interest, is to take the conversations more on a personal and private level through Sean's assistance and coordination, and talk much more specifics to the next steps, which lead into validation, which is discussing more of the financials, some of the prerequisites, having the ability to travel the country when we're able to travel the country again, hopefully very soon, and the ability for you to come to the United States and participate in our shows. That then would lead us to what we call the decision stage, which is where we would execute a term sheet, a letter of intent, and begin to draft the agreements, which leads us into the final signing of the agreements and the ability for you to begin to open and plan and open your first ACE Hardware store, and soon to become the leader in your country and territory in home improvement, and share in the successes of some of our other ACE retailers have within the region. I will now pass it on to Q&A. I hope I didn't go too fast. If I did, I apologize. I hope to answer any questions if I missed anything. And Sean, I'll pass it to you and take a quick sip, as I'll take a bit of a couple seconds of a break here.
Well, thank you, Alberto. That's a very, very useful, and you shared a lot of information about the ACE franchise opportunity. It is time for our Q&A question session. So if you haven't asked your questions, there is a Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. Please click on that and type in your answers. Looks like we have a few answers already. I'm sorry, a few questions already. So let's go ahead and start selecting some of these. So Thomas says, in markets where local products and local vendors are quite cheap, how does the price at ACE compare, and how does ACE compete?
That's a great question, Thomas. One of the first things that we do as we move together in the due diligence process is we do a consumer research analysis, which in each specific territory, where we bring in a third party who does a study specific to the market for what the consumer is looking for and the needs that are still available in that particular market. That study is then passed on to our international merchant team who goes into market. Obviously, we're hoping that very soon that's going to be the case when we're able to travel back into these territories. And these international merchants will go into these smaller formats, what we call the mom and pops. They'll go into the competitors and they'll do category, they'll do product, and they'll do pricing analysis to determine where the products are being sourced at, what the products are being sold for, and actually the quality of the specific product. As we all know, Thomas, there is a wide range of quality, regardless of where it comes from. And in many instances, people will pay for that quality and for that service. We do not pretend to be, Thomas, the cheapest in the market. We do pretend to own, we don't pretend, we know, and we strive to own the customer service, the quality, and the warranty of our products. And that has made us a success in the region. So I hope that answers your question. That's an excellent question.
Okay. To the next question. Tom asks, how big are your stores? Where do you locate A stores typically? Are they in shopping centers, etc.?
Another great question. So as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, our stores have great flexibility. One of the great things about ACE and its success is that we become flexible to the market and to the trade area that we go into. If that trade area is a vertically dense, high demographic area, then we're traditionally going to go with a smaller express format. As we get outside of the CBDs, the central business districts, then we go with a larger format so that we could offer a broader assortment of our products. We take it even further. We do site analysis. We work with commercial brokers, real estate brokers within the specific territory to better understand where the growth is. As you know, growth usually is from outside of the rings of the CBD, and we try to track that growth so that we could be ahead of the game when developing our stores in those new and up and coming suburban areas or new CBDs that will be there in the future.
Okay.
Hope I answered that question.
Thank you, Alberto. Thomas asks, how are the stores specifically doing in Malaysia, the Philippines, Indonesia doing this year during COVID-19?
That I thought would have been the first question. Obviously, it is top of mind to everybody. We are humbled by the opportunity of being deemed essential in our business model, where most of our stores remained open in many of our countries to serve the needs of our consumers and homeowners. That has created a record in sales for the company, and it's something that we don't take lightly. It has also given us a lot of teachings, Thomas, whereas we understand now going forward the vulnerabilities of certain formats and certain locations due to COVID. And I'll give you an example. We learned that there is a higher vulnerability in a mall-based store during COVID when if the entire shopping center closes, your store has to close and you have no option but to be closed until the mall opens again. Whereas a freestanding store that is not tied to a mall did not have to rely or be subject to the mall closing to be able to do business. So one of the learnings that our retailers in Indonesia, in Malaysia, and in Philippines have taken from all of this, where they have a significant mall-based presence, is going forward, the opportunity of finding freestanding independent locations can avoid future closings, God willing, of future pandemics or other things that may cause that shopping center to close. So we have taken significant learnings and are now applying them, not only when we go out and help search for real estate, but also those product categories that go into those stores going forward. But the answer is that the stores are getting back on track and they're doing well.
Another question is, can we include locally made products to the assortment?
Great question. The answer is yes. The success of each individual store is predicated on its ability to adapt to its local trade area, its ability to provide those niches of product assortments that the consumer in that specific trade area is going to want and is looking for. The needs of a specific store in Greater Bangkok are going to be much different than those of a store in Phuket, as an example. So those products need to be differentiated depending on the trade area itself. And we work with you to train you so that you could differentiate those products based on the trade area that you're going into.
Okay, great. Tao asks, what are your criteria for choosing a franchisee in Vietnam?
Well, we have a qualification process that Sean can share with you specifically, from not only a business acumen, but a minimum financial capability, an equity position, and also the understanding of the ability for you to open what we feel is a store development plan within a prescribed term, in this case, 10 years for North Vietnam. But as far as a pre-qualification, I think that's as easy as a phone call away with Sean, who could give you that information directly.
Okay, good. Another question is, my country has many small and large companies that offer similar products. How will ACE compete with these companies?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we'll go in specifically on the markets that I shared with that are open today, and we'll do not only a consumer research analysis with a third party, but also we'll send in a team of international merchants, myself, category managers, project managers, visit the competition, and we'll certainly make a determination with you, the prospective licensee, to determine what is the right format to compete against, whether it's the mom and pops or the big boxes, and better understand where we are and where we could position ourselves. This is something that we do together. Mutually, we would determine together whether to move forward or not. So that is a part of the due diligence process that we do for every single country that we go into.
Okay, good. Here's an interesting question from Tom. What is the biggest critical success factor for ACE when entering a new country?
Is Tom the one that keeps on writing these great questions? Because he's really challenged me tonight. So I applaud you, Tom. I applaud you, Tom, for your questions. I think there's several factors that determine success. I think from a financial perspective, having the financial wherewithal and applying the right financial resources to the project over a long term and setting the right expectations is very important. Number two, having a degree of business acumen where if you have, whether it's multi-store experience, franchise experience, or retail experience, is very strong. Number three, the ability to properly acquire the right real estate for the right price in the right location is critical. You hear it all the time, location, location, location. Well, you could find the right location, but have a bad operator that runs out of money and the store is not a success. So I think The three key things would be having the financial wherewithal, the patience to see it through, the business acumen to run the stores at a professional level, and three, the ability to acquire the real estate in the right locations for the right price. I think those are the three most important factors.
Okay, I think we're nearing the 1 hour mark for the webinar. We have one final question that
Okay.
we can hopefully resolve, and then we'll wrap up this webinar. And the question is by Sarah. She asks, what are you looking for in a franchisee? I think you've mentioned that before, Alberto. How many stores do I have to open? What is investment level?
Sarah, great question. It really depends on your territory. Of the target markets that we've shared with you, they range anywhere from a 7 to 8 store development plan to, in some of those markets, over just nearly 100 stores. So it really depends on the market that you're specifically requesting. That is something that we could talk to you specifically on. But as an example, if it's a North Vietnam, you're looking at, I believe, at a development plan of about 10 stores over a 10-year period. The stores can range anywhere from 300 square meters to 2,000 square meters. The development cost of a store will range, and Sean could give you more particulars on license fees, royalties, etc. But it's really specific to the territory that you're interested in.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Alberto. I think that was the final question. We do have other questions, but they were of similar nature to the ones that you have addressed. We'd like to thank you again, Alberto, for being the guest speaker today. And hopefully our viewers and participants have had the opportunity to learn a little bit more about the ACE franchise opportunity for their country. Clearly, if you are interested in learning more, please reach out to us, and we will do, as Alberto mentioned earlier, we will schedule a one-on-one call with you directly to answer your detailed questions. I think after this event, we are going to follow up with you and everyone who registered for this webinar with a short presentation that we just saw, as well as a recording of the webinar that Alberto just mentioned earlier. So thank you very much. Stay safe and healthy, and all the best. And thank you again, Alberto. I know it's very late.
Our pleasure. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Stay safe, everyone. Hope to talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.